Hi everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at the 2020 election map, Trump versus Biden, and yeah, this is what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be assigning each of these states either safe, likely, leaning, or tilt towards each particular party. No states left as toss-ups. Safe is a margin of over 15%, we're predicting. Likely is between 7% and 14%. Lean is between 2 and 6%, and tilt is less than 2%. So let's get started on this prediction. Utah, we're predicting a Trump margin of over 15%. Same with Idaho, Wyoming, and Montana. Montana, we're actually going to predict slightly less than 15%. North Dakota, South Dakota, all safe for Trump. Most of Nebraska, Kansas, we're predicting a margin of over 15%. Oklahoma, same thing. Arkansas, over 15%. Louisiana, same thing. Mississippi, Alabama, all over 15%. Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, and South Carolina. All of these states we're predicting and Missouri, sorry, all these states we're predicting a margin of over 15%. Moving on to let's just finish with the likely Republican states. These are states where we're predicting a win by Trump of between 7% and 14%. So we're going to pop in Alaska in this category. What else can we put in likely Republican? I'm actually going to move South Carolina over to likely Republican as well, just for the time being. And I believe that's it. So now let's move on to the Democratic states: Washington, Oregon, California, Hawaii, the usual West Coast states. New Mexico, we're predicting a margin of over 15% for Biden. Illinois, Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, the District of Columbia, all safe over 15% for Joe Biden. New York, and the 1st District of the state of Maine. Moving on to our next group, this is the likely Democratic states. We're going to put Colorado into this category. In Colorado, right now we're predicting a margin of somewhere between 7% and 14% in that state. Same thing in Virginia, we're predicting a similar margin. Moving up to Maine, that at-large district, again, we're predicting that kind of margin. New Hampshire, same thing also. So right now we're at 216 for the Democrats, we're at 125 for the Republicans. Where are some states where Republicans can rack it up in terms of leaning states towards them? I'm going to say Texas. Right now I'm predicting a +3 Trump win, somewhere in that ballpark, maybe +2. So that would barely go into the leaning Republican situation there. Moving on to the next state that we're going to take a look at. I don't believe there's any more leaning Republican states at this point, but we could come back to that. In terms of leaning Democratic states, there's a whole lot here. Michigan, we're actually going to be predicting this one as a lean, but Wisconsin is also a lean. Minnesota is actually a likely at this stage. All these 3 states are states in the Rust Belt. Biden has made significant progress in these areas, and he is leading comfortably in polling margins in these areas. The state of Pennsylvania as well, Trump says he's going all in, but right now polling has, if anything, moved away from Trump in the past 2 weeks. So it's not looking too good for Trump in Pennsylvania. Moving on, we're going to move Nevada and Arizona, also leaning Democratic. By the way, Biden's passed 270 already. But these 2 states are really 2 states that have moved to the Democrats in recent years. Nevada is pretty underpolled, but the polls we have got show Democrats doing well, and Nevada's a state that tends to favor Republicans in polls. It underestimates Democratic turnout. Nevada is actually a really hard state to poll. That's one really interesting thing about the state. Arizona right now, again, leaning towards Biden. Another state, some of you may not disagree, but Florida, we're moving this one into the leaning Biden category as of right now. We can always move it back. Nebraska second. This is a leaning Democratic state, and right now Biden's up to 319 electoral votes. He is racking up these electoral votes, and keep in mind that Texas is pretty close to going blue. So if this state goes blue, then I mean that's just a blowout, right? For the Democrats, it's already very ugly for the Republicans. North Carolina, this is again leaning towards the Democrats at this stage. Ohio, again, also polling has come out showing this is a competitive state for the Democrats. We're going to be giving this one over to the Democrats. Iowa, also this one, we're going to be moving this over to the Democrats. Maine 2nd District, we're going to be moving over to the Democrats. Georgia, this is the one that really gets me though. But at this point, the momentum definitely seems to be with Democrats. So what we're actually going to do, we're going to slightly lean this towards the Democrats. So right now, my current election prediction, Biden at 375, Trump at 163. So looking pretty ugly for Trump. And keep in mind that a lot of these Republican states, a lot of these Republican states could easily move closer towards the Democrats. You look at places like Alaska that's got some competitive polling. Texas could go to the Democrats. South Carolina could become competitive. You look at states like Kansas even, Utah, Missouri. Some of these states are real. In fact, we're going to move Kansas over to likely Republican because some of these states are really showing signs of a competitive race. And I'm not predicting Biden's going to win Kansas, let me be clear. But at this point, it's looking pretty ugly, and it's getting even more dicey for how Trump is able to win his re-election. So that's it for today's video, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.